Israel has been shelling Gaza again on Sunday morning, and another UN school has come under fire, killing at least 10 people. That's despite reports the Israeli Defense Force has been scaling back its operations and winding down its destruction of Hamas tunnels.
This is a facility where thousands of people were seeking shelter, so it is highly likely that among the casualties are going to be women and children. As of yet, no official comment from the Israeli side, but it does follow a similar incident back on Wednesday. In that particular incident, some 20 people were killed when the Israeli shells hit another UN school where hundreds of displaced people were seeking shelter. The Israeli response to Wednesday's incident is that it is investigating it. There have been harsh words from the United Nations, which has said that they have repeatedly informed and warned the Israeli army where civilians are using their facilities for seeking shelter. But as I say, we're waiting to hear from the Israeli side regarding this latest incident. It certainly follows a renewal of fighting. What we know is that at least 30 Gazans were killed in the early hours of Sunday morning. This is as Israel resumed its airstrikes over the towns of Rafah and Jabalia. It follows harsh statements made by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Saturday night. He said, and this was an explicit warning to Hamas, that they would pay an intolerable price if they continued with their airstrikes. Netanyahu saying that the focus of the army and the ground forces inside Gaza was still to destroy tunnels, but that even when that was completed, they would continue to ensure that Gaza was militant free and that Israel's south would be safe for citizens. Hamas responded by saying that Netanyahu's comments were a declaration of failure and defeat, and that they believe that they were an attempt to raise the morale from among the Israeli army.
I'm Darin Howard. This is Radio Free Canada with an update on the situation from the Canadian side, the Gaza conflict between Israeli Defense Forces and the civilians that they're killing right now. As Hamas tries to fire a few rockets at Israel, we're seeing thousands of people being killed on the Gaza side. Up to 2,000 people right now, reported by this group, who's protesting right behind me, have been killed so far. Most of them civilians, a very good number of them women and children. But there have been casualties on the Israeli side. And right now, the entire world is calling for a ceasefire from both sides. More violence is begetting violence, and we realize that there has to be a diplomatic solution. However, our local government has seemed to have taken the side of the Israeli Defense Forces by mustering together a group of conservatives to go across to Israel to see how things are in the Israeli side. Of course, we're looking at reports from Huffington Post and Al Jazeera reporting on how things are on the ground in the Gaza side and with the Palestinian people. We see that that's not what's hitting mainstream news. We also have a report from the Calgary Herald and the Calgary Sun in blind support of the Israeli Defense Forces, the killing of women and children. But we're not taking that side, and a lot of people around the world are not taking that side either. While tens of thousands of people hit the streets around the world in protest of the violence that's going on in the Middle East, we're going to continue reporting right here from the streets of Kelowna as people stand up in protest. The people that are behind me right now are committed, loud, and getting lots of honks of support from the people who are right here. There's also been one individual who stood up and said that he should start firing model rockets at the people who are protesting. It seems that there are a lot of opinions about this, and we're going to cover those opinions on Radio Free Canada on YouTube. Please stay tuned. We have a report coming up produced by Robert Nisbet, an update on the events happening here in Canada, around the world, and in the Middle East as we take a look at the genocide that's occurring. Thank you for tuning in to Radio Free Canada. We have more to come. Good day.
Robert and Darin from Radio Free Canada in Kelowna, BC on August the 3rd, 2014. It's just afternoon. It's a beautiful day here in Kelowna. What we have across the street from me is a demonstration regarding the situation in Gaza, where Israel is committing genocide and war crimes, and of course they're not allowing anybody to look into that situation. They've destroyed more than 40% of the Gazan area, as well as they've targeted hospitals, refugee camps, schools, and places where people are supposed to be safe. They have destroyed the electrical system, as well as they're making huge attacks on the Gazan infrastructure. There's a huge outbreak of disease going on there, and Israel is continuing to maintain that they are attacking in self-defense. This is complete disproportionality of force, and it is being rained down the Gazan people without mercy. We will continue to be bringing you reports on the situation in Gaza as we see it, as well as reports from the world press going on around the world as what's going on as far as protests against this egregious war crime that Israel is committing, and the opinion of other pundits on the western side. We'll bring you a special report on how the media is spinning the situation, as well as the real story. This is Robert and Darin signing out for Radio Free Canada.
A humanitarian ceasefire between Israel and Hamas has failed. Israeli shelling reportedly kills up to 30 Palestinians in heavy fighting that broke out just hours into the three-day truce. Our Middle East correspondent Paula Steer has the details.
Well, Israel has now officially announced that the 72-hour United Nations brokered humanitarian ceasefire is over. A Hamas spokesperson has said that this is to be expected and that Israel never stands by its commitments. As expected, both sides are blaming the other for having broken this truce that lasted just 2 hours. It was supposed to have lasted, as I say, 3 days. Now, what we're hearing from Palestinians is that within 2 hours, Israel shelled the southern Gaza town of Rafah. We're also receiving reports of heavy exchanges of fire in and around Gaza City. The Israelis, for their side, however, say that it was rocket fire from Gaza that caused them to respond. And they say that within 2 hours, there were at least 25 rockets that were fired at southern Israel. Half of these rockets fell short of their target and, in fact, landed inside Gaza. Now, this is the longest humanitarian truce that was announced. It does follow 4 short-term ceasefires that were announced and later broken over the past week. These ceasefires that are orchestrated by the United Nations are meant to be an opportunity for much needed emergency supplies to be brought into the Gaza Strip. Hospitals there are practically at critical point. We have heard from international organizations using words like catastrophe and crisis. It was supposed to be an opportunity for people to stockpile on food, to bury the dead, and also for the injured to be moved from one location to another. But of course now none of that is going to happen. What is not clear is what impact this breaking of the ceasefire will have on talks that are slated later on Friday in the Egyptian capital. Delegations from both Israel and Hamas will be meeting in an indirect negotiation that is being facilitated by both Cairo and Washington. What Hamas is saying is that it will not discuss disarming, but it will discuss the lifting of the siege that Israel has had on Gaza for the past 8 years.